Hello everyone, so I'm Stephanie Edwards. I'm an urban designer, architect, and I'm one of the co-founders of Urban Symbiotics. And so at Urban Symbiotics, we really focus on people, actually. So everything we do is focused on putting people at the centre. We were founded by myself as an architect and urban designer and a product designer. And so everything that we do is focused on really creating that evidence base, but focused on engaging with the people that use it. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about, obviously, the future of council housing, but reimagining that in the perspective of who shapes it. I'd like to talk to you today about how we do create and co-design a foundation for change and how important and critical that is for everyone. So there's so many buzzwords, right? Participation, community-led design, co-creation. What is it? And many people focus on different aspects. But for us at Urban Symbiotics, it's about being equitable. It's about being exploratory. It's about being curious, open, and really fair. In terms of how we do it, we're very focused. So we're very focused on ensuring that we actually develop co-creation methods that are unique, because they need to be as unique as the people that we are designing for and with. It needs to be data-driven. We can't just be asking people about their insights. We need to find a way to ensure that translates, whether it's to design briefs, whether it's co-creating with them, but it's about ensuring that we really take that information seriously, work through a trend analysis, and really ensure that it ends up in a space that is actually usable and recognisable. But it's also human. We're all human. There's a beauty in a conversation, beauty in listening, and also the immersions. It's not just about very distinct questions, but it's about actually really finding appropriate solutions and often to challenges that we don't know are challenges for ourselves. And so for us, it's really about reaping that equity, it's building innovation, and finding out so much of the possibility and the value that comes from this. So we do believe that participation underpins success. It is essential. It should not be a tick box, and it's also very clear when it is. But it's also transformational. We've spoken a lot about housing and neighbourhoods, and we really believe that a good engagement process really does transform a whole neighbourhood, a whole community, those who will steward it. It's a cohesion catalyst, so it's not actually just the output of engagement, but it's the process. We've done a lot of work with Be First, which we'll talk about later, but part of that's actually building community during that process, and there's a lot of value and uplift that comes with that. And then genuine vibrancy. We all like to be in a place that is authentic, a place that is well used, well looked after, and has high footfall. And also about sustainability. Also, sustainability is about sustaining that engagement and legacy. We know that as council housing is reducing, actually we need the community to continue that. We need to have legacy. And it's healthy. There is proven data to show that good engagement and pride in your place leads to good individual and collective health and well-being. Who does it benefit? As we said, it benefits all, from the client, professional team, and of course, residents and community. So what does this look like in terms of resident community wins? This is an example of a really vibrant engagement event that we looked at in terms of, the community asked for better use spaces. And so we actually had a big barbecue. So as they're waiting for food, we managed to engage. And so it's not just about, as I said, the outcome, it's the process. But in terms of the resident community wins, you get better design. You can incorporate that lived experience to really come up with smarter, individual, and really beautiful solutions, actually. It's about that social thread, building in people, cohesion, bringing in that sense of stewardship, raising civic pride, lowering crime. It's about uplift, also about well-being. How can this actually starts to combat loneliness, it fuels optimism. And also in this process, you always find the champions, those who are actually really championing for a better place, and who are these local leaders who can start to look at peer-to-peer training and engagement with us. Professional teams, as architects and urban designers in the room, we just have better briefs. If we can get that original and detailed resident insight, it allows us to develop better. It allows us to have really develop innovation and solve the correct questions, essentially. And then tailored places, just really bringing in the unique, the bespoke. And then actually it allows us to build relationships. We know that trust is an issue at the moment, whether it's developers, councils, ourselves as those in the built environment, we need to start building trust. And the client wins. Actually, cost is reduced. Maintenance becomes easier because you have more stewards and that sense of pride. You have that value boost. Homes actually match the real needs. You can iterate fast. And what happens if you actually use post-occupancy analysis to shape the next phase or to shape new design? Smooth planning, it should go through fast if you actually involve people at the beginning. And then actually becomes a fund magnet. So with our work, we've managed to help leverage funding from the GLA, obviously through GLA balloting, but also from the Mayor's Office, levelling up funding, etc. So how do you deliver meaningfully? At Urban Symbiotics, we co-authored the Inclusive Engagement Toolkit with the Quality of Life. And so there we set up 7 steps to really good engagement. First is about discovering who lives there. What is the actual demographic analysis of a place so that you can actually measure, are you reaching all of the people that live here? And we talk about underserved, but actually most people do not engage in the planning process. It's about defining those stakeholders, finding out where they are, tailoring co-design methods to actually break down barriers, whether that's time, whether that's money, whether it's actually about movement, and then creating that welcoming space. Like, we need to actually create places that people want to be, feeding back so we can share insights, and then translating those voices into design, and then keeping the conversation going. It's just really important. It's quite multi-channel. There is a lot of work to it, but it does reap those benefits. So I'm going to talk through briefly 2 projects, and then I'm going to talk through a few different methods that we have seen that have worked quite well. So we worked with Be First, actually, to actually start to shape what their new 10,000, their vision for 10,000 homes would look like. But we did that by setting up a resident advisory board. That advisory board helped us to actually co-design that ideal home charter. It was about getting together a group of 25 to 50 people that actually represented the different diverse nature from multi-generational, different cultures, genders, abilities, to actually shape what an ideal home should look like. How should we shape that? And so we looked at these deep dive workshops. We explored their day-to-day, what they would like to see in the future about the issues they're facing on each day. So the results ended up with an easy-to-use booklet. But first we asked, what is the home? We all talk about designing what is a 2-bed, 2-person home. But sometimes people wanted to look at what's a place for socialising, what's a place that's really adaptable for different types of living. But also many people felt like they lived in a laundrette. Like, where do you put your clothes? Where do you start to, if you're trying to reduce your bills, how do you ensure your space is livable? We worked with looking at insights to ensure that we looked at adaptability. What does a work from home space look like on a weekday compared to wanting to expand on the weekend? What if you didn't want your 1-bedroom, spare bedroom that you never use to turn into more of a social space? It was really about adapting. Or somebody who was in a wheelchair who didn't want a wet room, they had a child, they needed a bath. So it's about how can you start to turn this into guidance. The result ended up being a jointly drafted charter with illustrated design principles. It had checklists for every housing type, from apartments, existing housing stock, and also started to look at low-cost, high-impact, about adjustable storage, communal laundry hubs, and individual. What does that look like, and how does it start to change? And how can we really start to have an adaptable and flexible space? And a home being, personality-based, not just use, not adding our restrictions as designers into the way that people are using their own homes for themselves. The Phoenix Park. So the Phoenix Park was another project working on the estate renewal of Gascoigne Estate. This is a large estate renewal with a lot of historic residents and new residents coming through. And so we set up another representative panel called the Gascoigne Residents Forum, who was again representative to help co-design community centres, help co-design parks. And this is actually the development of a space that turned from a underused an underused plot into something that was usable. We looked at insight. It was during the lockdown, so we had people wanted a space to safely meet, a space for meditation, a space to host birthday parties, and a space to actually meet and form community. We did these through interactive murals online, through insight usage, developing that into a proposal to a visualisation with fabric landscape architects. And so now, 5 years later, this is used for urban farming. It's now used, the urban farmer is now planting the entire place. It's now used for circuit training every Saturday, and it is really difficult. And they're also used for iftars. I'm almost there.
Time.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
17, we've got Dominic to go.
Okay.
About our audience.
So then we have, so it's used for birthday parties. It's well used, it's well loved. So just in terms of the impact, these are just a few of the quotes of the process. But essentially, if we look at the future tools that we can use, if we know that the process is just as important as the impact, we can feed back in more visual ways. We can actually start to test things directly with people. What does it feel like from the user? What does it feel like to start to test activities? Using augmented reality for public realm and actually adapting itself in VR. But also shaping the, for example, the proportion of a balcony. How do you actually use it? This is in the Trustee estate. And also sustainability and reality, testing and choosing materiality together. But essentially, innovative co-creation methods is just about showing empathy. It's about talking, it's about listening, and really just ensuring that you're helping shape one of the most important things to us, and that is our home. So, thank you.